Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Scared2 here bringing you another Minecraft tutorial. In this tutorial we'll be going ahead and covering how to build trenches. Now for this tutorial it's going to be a little bit more of a tips video, I guess you can say, but I will be showing you guys a little bit of how I go about building the trenches and all that stuff. But for the most part I'm going to be talking about what you guys should do for your trench and how I would go about designing the trench. As you guys can see in front of me, I designed a small section of this trench and you know, just trying to give you guys ideas on how you guys can go about doing your trenches and all that stuff. Now, when it comes down to trenches, they're very basic to do, and they could apply for, you know, tons of, you know, wars, battles, and all that stuff. I mean, it's basically just a slit in the ground. Now, more commonly, you would see World War II trenches, in my opinion, were a little bit nicer in quality than World War I trenches, but I mean, that's a whole debate for, you know, another time and all that stuff. But standardly, you would probably want to have wood planks that outline the edges of the trench to kind of keep back the wood and brace or not keep back the wood, but keep back the dirt and kind of brace the trench and kind of keep it from collapsing in on itself. And as you guys can see in front of me, I went ahead and put these big braces in to kind of you know, show that it's trying to, you know, keep the dirt back and kind of keeping the actual trench supported. And of course you don't need to do that, it's not completely necessary, but it's always a nice thing to do. Now, when it comes down to having your trenches and all that stuff, yeah, I highly recommend that you guys have different height variations. I would recommend you make your trench no deeper than 4 blocks deep from ground level. Of course, you could go deeper, but I don't really recommend it. The only point I would go deeper is if you're going to have like a little underground command post or something of that sort. But I would recommend you keep your tunnels at least 4 to 3 blocks deep for the most part. You could have some sections where it's only 2 blocks deep and stuff like that, and I have a little bit of that kind of mixed in with the trench, but mainly you want to build with your landscapes. As you guys can see, I have this trench built in to this hill right here. Now you can see the hill kind of you know, pops out a little bit in this direction and kind of starts to flow out that way. You can see I have this trench going up on the hill right here like this, and it kind of curves to go with the landscape and then kind of turns here and kind of continues to follow that shape of the hillside. I highly recommend you guys doing that. It will just look a lot better, definitely for you guys, and just overall looks a lot more realistic in my opinion. And that's what you guys want to pretty much have for that. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of fly through the trenches I have currently right here, talk about a few things, and I'll go ahead and kind of pop into the video showing you guys, you know, just a little bit of the building of the trenches and how I go about doing it. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be a tutorial. I'm not going to be showing you guys exactly how to build this. I'm just going to kind of be giving you guys ideas for how you guys can go about building yours. I feel like that'll be more beneficial to you guys than just doing an exact tutorial on how to build this right here, which I don't think will help you guys at all when it comes to doing trenches. And I want you guys to actually be able to take away something like this and be able to, you know, make your own trenches and not have to count on copying the same design here throughout your entire world or whatever you guys got going on. Now, you can see here I have elevated sections of the trench. You can see here I have curved sections, and you can see here that I have just straight sections just like that. And that's pretty much what you want to do throughout your trenches. You want to go with the land. You don't want to make it just completely flat, one level all the way across. You want to definitely have different elevations and all that stuff to it. As I kind of mentioned earlier, I would not go any further than 4 blocks underground. But again, it's pretty much up to you guys in the end. So, going down in the trenches here, you can see I have an exit/entrance. It's very important that you do have these involved in your trench, because you got to think, especially in World War I, they would be carting a lot of troops into these trenches, a lot of supplies, and I guess the same would apply to World War II as well. But you definitely want to have an exit and an entrance for sure to your trenches. So be sure that you're very mindful about where you want to position these, and make sure that they make sense, of course. Technically, these positions here probably aren't the best, just because, you know, it would be easy for enemy forces to flank. Usually you want the exit on the back here, but since I have this hill right up against my trench, I couldn't really put a exit on the back here, so I just went and put it on the sides. But again, it's kind of up to you guys on what you want to go about doing that. Now, if we go ahead and come down here, you can see, I talked about the braces earlier, you can go ahead and do those. And one thing I did here with the walls of the trench, you can see I used mostly wood. And I use a nice combination of spruce wood and oak, and not oak wood, my bad, dark oak wood, to just kind of show some withering away of the wood. You know, I would imagine that trenches would be a very damp kind of place, and you know, rain and stuff like that. So, you know, I went ahead and put some dark oak wood blocks just to kind of show the saturation of the walls and stuff like that. And you can see I mostly used them around the bottom of the trench where there would be more moisture collected. And you can see the walls also are slanted. I highly recommend you guys do this. It just kind of would make more sense to have the walls slanted. It will do better at supporting the dirt realistically, if you're speaking, instead of just having a nice flat surface here. and it also allows troops to kind of get up on the side here and be able to fire over these blocks and all that stuff, or basically be able to fire out whoever was attacking the trench. So that's definitely something I recommend. And again, I kind of talked about elevation in the beginning of the video. You can see here just, you know, nice elevation, stuff like that, throwing some wood planks and half slabs into the ground to kind of just show, you know, a little bit of a smoother transition throughout the trench. And when you get here, you can see that we have a nice turn here, and, you know, just kind of turns in the hillside. You can see this side's a little bit higher up than this side, and this is, again, where I was kind of mentioning that, you know, elevation is definitely a cool thing to have. So you can see here, this section here, it's only 1.5 blocks tall, and you know, it may be small and stuff like that, but you gotta think building with the hillside and all that stuff, it's definitely a possibility that can happen. Of course, if you have sections like this, you can also take sandbags and kind of pile it up here, or use sandstone half slab stairs and spruce sandstone full blocks to show those sandbags. So that's basically what you can kind of do in here, but definitely recommend having like little things like this, because it just breaks up the trench and looks really nice in the end. And then you can see here we got a nice straight part of the trench which leads out to the end here, and you can see a machine gun position right here, which is just kind of like a bulge that kind of came out from the trench, just like that, and just pretty much a mounted machine gun is mounted up right there. But anyways, that's pretty much the basics of really trenches and all that stuff. One thing I highly recommend is when you're actually structuring these trenches is to try to make them diagonal, zigzagged, curved as much as you guys possibly can. Realistically, trenches were done like that to avoid shrapnel going throughout the trench. So if a lucky artillery shell landed inside the trench, it wouldn't spread throughout, you know, a huge radius of the trench and just annihilate a bunch of people, just go through a bunch of people. And having those kind of zigzags breaks it off, so that the shrapnel would end up impacting the side of the wall instead of going in and infecting other soldiers down the trench. So again, that's just little you know, thoughts and stuff like that for if you guys want to apply that. Of course, you guys don't have to. It's just kind of like little things that you guys could do to make your thing a little bit more realistic. But in the end, I mean, you know, just doing a standard kind of design like this would definitely work. So that's pretty much my overview for the trenches. I'll go ahead and go into the tutorial. I'll kind of show you guys a little bit of the building process, what I go into, you know, how I go about doing the stuff and all that, and we'll go ahead and get into that, and that'll pretty much be the tutorial. So with that, let's go ahead and move into, you know, building the trenches. Real quick before we go ahead and move into the part where I kind of talk about, or kind of show you guys how to build the trenches, one thing I just want to go ahead and cover again is my tips for the trenches. If you guys can incorporate all of these and, you know, do your best to accommodate all these, you guys should have a really good looking trench. The next part of this video is just for those of you guys that want to see a better idea of how you can go about and actually build it. But then again, I do, of course, recommend that you guys go ahead and give it a shot for yourselves. Maybe use some ideas that I gave you guys with overviewing the trench earlier, and just try to incorporate that in your guys' own trenches. That's the best way you guys will be able to, you know, learn how to do the trenches and all that stuff. I'm just more along the lines of trying to give you guys tips on how you guys can actually improve your trenches and all that stuff. But anyways, guys, that's it for this. And again, if you follow these tips that are on screen now, you guys should be able to come up with a pretty good looking trench. So with that, let's continue on with the video. Alright, so I went ahead and kind of set up a nice little example area right here where we're just going to go ahead and build a part of the trench in and all that stuff and just kind of cover it and all that. Now, when it comes down to it, it's pretty much up to you guys really to do it. I mean, I kind of showed you guys the fly for you. You can kind of like take looks throughout the video at that and, you know, just, you know, look back at it for reference and all that stuff. But really, honestly, you guys should just try to do your own thing with the trenches, because if you're going to just copy exactly what I do, you're not going to learn. And you're definitely not going to get better and really capture the trenches that you guys want to do. So I would highly recommend you just use this for a little bit of an example, and you don't try to copy everything I'm doing block for block. Now, basically what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go and start by setting up some braces here. And I'm only going to make these about stick up one block from the ground. That's about the size that I want it to go out. I don't want it to be sticking up too high. And I'm just going to go and break a space of 3 in between here. I'm going to go ahead and put another side. And of course, you guys can change the widths of your trenches. It would definitely work for whatever you guys want to do. And of course, you know, you can go crazy with that. You can make it 2 blocks wide, maybe even 1 block at some space. But I would recommend probably about 2 or 3 is about the good size that you guys want to go to. Of course, you can have some parts of the trench which are a little bit wider, maybe like 5 blocks wide or something like that. But again, that's up to you guys, and depending on your locations and all that stuff you're building these trenches in. Now, what I like to do is you can see that this right here is my block level. I'm going to go ahead and break down, let's go ahead and go down a total of 2 more blocks. So we're going to be 3 blocks pretty much underground here, and you can see kind of like this space under here. And that's about where I recommend. I think that's a nice sweet spot for trenches and stuff like that, is about 3 blocks down underground. So let's see. Now we're just going to go ahead and kind of break here. We're going to carve a path here. We're just going to make a nice kind of straight, look to this. And we'll just go ahead and kind of break this here. Break this all out. Just kind of start off with a nice solid shape. Get our kind of like look that we want the trench to go. I would recommend you guys kind of decide where you want this thing to actually go before you start doing all the detail and all that stuff. It's always a good thing to do that. And right here you can see the land starts to go up. So we're going to go and take our trench and go up by 1 in height. And we'll just kind of throw in some blocks here. Kind of make it look not completely straight. We'll kind of, mess around for a little bit. Kind of add a little bit of detail to it. And that's one thing I see a lot of people, they just make a straight kind of like, just a straight, level change like that. Definitely try to go ahead and kind of mix it up by like maybe throwing in like 2 blocks like this and 1 block here to kind of break it up a little bit. And maybe throwing in some half slabs here. Make a little bit of a smoother transition and all that stuff. And of course, I mean, in the end of the day, it's up to you guys, but I would recommend doing something like that. Now, of course, when it comes down to the ground level here, I like to mix in some grass and some pot soil and some coarse dirt. Of course, you guys can use whatever materials you guys want. Gravel would also work good, but for the trench, I like to use these materials. I think they look pretty well together, and they kind of show what I want them to show. Just a muddy, not really well kept section. Now, I would recommend wherever you guys have these hills going up, that you go ahead and put in these oak wood logs here. Again, and we're going to go ahead and just take these and go all the way down to the ground, just like this, and kind of go ahead and put them in like that. So every time you have these, hill changes, I would recommend you guys do this as an air brace here for the hillside. And of course, we're going to go ahead and take some spruce wood top slabs, and we're going to place it down in between the oak wood blocks. Again, those are optional. I just think they look really nice and all that stuff. So you can see here we have this kind of angle going here a little bit, just like that. Now, when it comes to the end here of the trench, I don't want to really have my trench going all the way down this way, so I'm going to have a little bit of an exit here. And for this, we're going to kind of apply the same kind of thing we did right here. We're just going to go ahead and kind of have it slant up a little bit and slowly work its way to pretty much ground level. So you can see here just a nice little space like this, and you can just easily walk out of the trench and pretty much end up on the ground level. And of course, you can go ahead and randomize some blocks in with it, just like this. I would recommend using coarse dirt as well, so your grass doesn't grow back onto your blocks, which definitely is not going to be a good thing. And you can see you just got like a nice little exit to your trench. Nothing fancy, and that's pretty much what you guys want. Now, when it comes to the walls of the trenches, this part right here is, again, relatively simple. It doesn't really have to be anything too fancy. We're just going to go ahead and basically just take some, dark oak wood blocks, dark oak wood stairs, and just kind of mix it in. Spruce wood blocks maybe here and there. And you're just going to use basically a combination of these blocks to just kind of create a nice little worn look to it. I recommend you guys don't use just the same color planks all the way through it, and you guys just don't use planks. I recommend you guys use half slab, stairs, all kinds of stuff. Mix them together. It's going to create a nice withered look to the trench, and this is going to make it look a whole lot better. So if you guys are doing this, I would recommend, you do something like that. You can just see here, I'm just kind of randomizing the blocks here. It takes a little bit longer to build, I know, but in the end, it definitely looks a lot better. So, I mean, it's up to you guys in the end, but if I had to, I would recommend doing this. Definitely looks a lot better, and definitely makes your trench stand out a lot more. So you can see it's just kind of going out here to the sides. Now, when we get a little bit in the deeper portions here, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I like to slant my trenches a little bit. So I'm just going to break this first layer off here, and I'm just going to go ahead and start kind of placing down the walls here. And, just using a variation of stairs, half slabs, as I was kind of talking about, dark oak wood planks, all that stuff. Just going to use a variation of that and all that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some planks and, stairs and stuff like that go out kind of to the side here. So just like that. And you can see that it's going to create a nice little effect here that the wall is kind of slanted. And it just looks a whole lot nicer. You could have troops that kind of could stand on here and be able to shoot out at approaching enemies. And it just looks a lot better for the trench. But of course you can have the wall just completely straight. That would also work. And you can do the same thing over here to the other side. And of course, make sure that you don't make the walls completely symmetrical on both sides, guys. Make sure you go about and, try to make them different from each other. And try to make them unique and stand out as their own individual walls. Because in the end, it's going to look a lot better. And you're just going to have that much more detail to it. And you can just see the walls, something like that. And you can already see how this trench has already started to develop. It looks really nice. You can see that you have the nice slants to it, you have the braces in, all that kind of stuff, and everything like that. And then all you really want to do is just go ahead and, you know, maybe grab yourself some sandstone half slabs, maybe some sandstone stairs here as well. And we can just go ham with some sandbags. So you could put down like maybe a full block here, half slab, some half slabs around for sandbags. Maybe you want to have a little bit of sandbags at the entrance here to, you know, help protect the troops that are trying to leave the trench or something like that. And just go ahead and kind of go crazy with them, randomize them around and all that stuff. Just scatter them about. You could even have some that are kind of far away from the trench that maybe have been blown off the trench from artillery shells, something like that. And you could also take coarse dirt and kind of outline your trench here, or just like kind of throw it around mixed in with the dirt around, just to kind of show that it's kind of been disturbed, or kind of like, you know, dirt's been kicked up or something like that. And so it's going to kind of go all the way around. So something just kind of like that. You know, you can just kind of see exactly what I'm kind of going for and all that stuff. And this is the basic general idea you want to do for the trenches. I mean, there's not really much more I can really show you guys. It's pretty much up to you guys to really do it. And of course, you know, once you guys get a basic idea of how you're going to do the trenches and you kind of get an understanding of how to build them, you guys can easily start to experiment around with different designs and stuff like that. Adding artillery bunkers or, you know, mortar pits or something like that to it definitely would, you know, be a good way to go about and, you know, make this a whole lot better. Now, if we go ahead and continue digging on, we can just go ahead and kind of continue the pattern here of it going up like this. And, you know, you get to this point again here. And you're just going to want to dig this out pretty much all the way. Just keep going as far as you guys want to go. Now, as I mentioned, you do want to have those slants and those diagonals and stuff like that to your trenches. And, of course, you guys can make it a nice curve to the trench, or you can go at a diagonal. Either way works. If you guys are doing a nice curve, you guys can go ahead and look up on Google the circle generators and stuff like that to get a nice kind of circle idea. I mean, you could just do like a nice design. See, something kind of like this, I guess, for a circle if you want to do something like that. But theoretically, if you're having this thing on the front lines or defending a location, you're probably going to want to have more of a zigzag pattern. So we could just go ahead and do something maybe that looks like this for kind of like a nice kind of like a gradual zigzag, or you can do a little bit of a harder one, which goes, you know, exactly like this across, which you can see is a little bit more jagged, a little bit more sharp. But, I mean, it's up to you guys. You just got to experiment around with it. And if you guys were to go ahead and, you know, do a zigzag to it, you can just go ahead and dig this out. And you're just going to go ahead and dig this out at an angle here. And again, it's always good to plan these trenches out first beforehand. And then you can go ahead and go back and can, you know, fill it in and make them look a lot nicer. And you can even make this a little bit thicker here, just to kind of make it work a little bit nicer. And, I mean, this is pretty much all it really is to trenches. I mean, it's a very basic simple kind of concept that, you know, hopefully this video helps with and kind of gives you guys an idea of how you can go about do yours. Again, I'm not going to show you guys how to build a trench completely by hand. It's just not, there's just no point to it. I'm just going to kind of show you guys examples of how you guys can go ahead and build the trench. And I think I pretty much did so right here. And of course, you would take the same designs and apply it throughout the entire trench. If you need to, refer back to the video where I kind of flew through that one and kind of showed you guys what to do. Other than that, that's going to pretty much be it for this video. It was a pretty basic video, I understand that, and it's not exactly a tutorial, but I just wanted to show you guys how to do trenches. I had a lot of you guys asking for me to do some videos on how to make trenches, and honestly, I think this is the best way to go ahead and show you guys. I feel like trying to do an exact tutorial would just not help you guys whatsoever, and I feel like trying to give you guys more of tips than anything will help you guys develop your own trenches and kind of get a basic idea of how to go ahead and, you know, do your own trenches and all that stuff. So anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy, and hopefully you guys took away something from this. If you guys would like to see some more kind of structures or defensive positions or something like this, then be sure to let me know down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to you know, do it for you guys and all that stuff. So anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been your 2x4, and I'll see you guys next time.